Welcome, everybody. I am Keith Wallace. This is Alana Zerbe, and you are listening to After Wine School, the podcast. Today, our topic is how to improve your wine palate.
Yes, today we are going to take you through some firsthand experiences, a lot of information about how we approach teaching our students how to taste. So we're going to give you a nice framework and also go through some things that can hold you back. And so you will hopefully walk away inspired to continue your wine journey, to take it to the next level, and know that you're not wasting time or money on things that are unnecessary.
True enough. This is a learned skill.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. It's something that everybody can do. It just takes practice. Now, some people are maybe a little more tuned into their sensory experiences.
True.
Some people have a little more facility describing, putting a name to what they're actually experiencing. But regardless of where you start, everybody can get to the point where they can accurately discuss and recognize key principles in wine.
Absolutely. Some of the people I notice who usually have a head start are people who cook. They tend to be ahead of the game, but not for long now. So let's talk about some skill sets. One of the things I sometimes use as a tool is bacon apple pie. So if someone really wants to learn and they want to do it outside of a classroom, I tell them to actually go home and bake an apple pie. And really, just go home, bake an apple pie, seriously. But to do it in a specific way, get all the ingredients, prepare all the ingredients, and taste all the ingredients. So yeah, eating a raw apple, eating the sugar or the brown sugar, tasting the spices, all of it, trying all of it. Take a little nibble of the crust as well, the raw crust. Who doesn't love raw crust though? And bake it. And while it's baking, be close by, smell it because the scent is going to change from almost nothing to when it reaches temperature, it's going to start changing. Its smells are going to start changing from like a bright fresh apple to a dark apple to all of a sudden the spices just will fill the room. And then when it's done, when it's cooled down enough, now this is where I make a mistake. I always want to eat it right out and I always burn my tongue, always. But then try it. And when you try it, when you actually have a slice of that pie, you're thinking about all the things that went into it. Because now you have this memory and you're going to be able to taste, the caramelized apple, how the sugars have actually turned from just sugar to like a caramel, that the cinnamon and nutmeg and all the other spices and that beautiful vanilla are all in there, and as well as the pastry. You'll be able to notice all the different pieces of it, even while you enjoy the thing as a whole. And this is how you understand wine. It's understanding all the pieces that put it together, being able to enjoy it as a whole, but then recognize all the pieces. Because every one of those flavors actually is a part of winemaking. In fact, apple pie in a glass is actually a classical California Chardonnay.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. It works. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal way of actually, without having to do any wine tasting or anything, just bake an apple pie. And I used to have people do that, and they would always bring me a slice. Because something about me says, this man needs more pie.
It's very helpful. Yeah. And it sounds so simple, but it really, if you do it and really open yourself up to the experience, it absolutely gets you started on the road to how you should be thinking about wine.
Yes.
And I think that really is the first step that I try to impress upon my students as well, is opening yourself up to the aromatic world. What we don't realize, a lot of civilized adulting behavior is about the removal of smells, about living in a very antiseptic environment. The journey of wine should open you up to experiences, not all of which are going to be incredibly pleasant. So really unlocking your desire to smell a range of things is important. I believe it's key. And I don't tell people to bake an apple pie, but I do tell people start cooking.
Yep.
Start cooking. And as you're cooking, it doesn't matter what you're cooking, but start smelling things. And as you're getting into cooking, you're going to the grocery store. Start smelling things, especially if you have an Asian grocery store, like an H Mart close by. Go and smell exotic fruits. Just really tune in to the differences between a lemon and a lime. I mean, we think we might know that, but really tune into it. And whenever you come across a wine description, interrogate whether you really know what cinnamon tastes like versus nutmeg. Get yourself to a spice shop. That is another invaluable experience. I spent so much time. We were lucky enough to have a Penzeys Spices close to where I lived in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, they closed, but I spent a ton of time at Penzeys. I'll never forget how many different cinnamons they had and how many different vanillas they had. So you really unlock this rich, deep world of differences in what we sort of think of as common everyday things.
Yeah.
So that's key to me. And yeah, whenever you see a description, think, do I really know what a black currant smells or tastes like? And if you don't, get yourself on the internet, order some and experience it. And that is going to help remarkably.
And, and there are places like, and even opening yourself up to like things that are offensive too. Like the next time you fill up gas at a gas station, right? You step out there, there's all kinds of smells. Like there is that actually also are in wine there, like that smell of burnt rubber, that smell of gasoline, that, this just the general smell of humanity that tends to emanate out of a gas station. Yes, all of this is because you do want to expand your ability, because you have to understand how your sense of smell works, why you would want to do this. Largely because you can experience over 8 billion different scents and flavors. You can. Our capacity is that high. You have to understand how this whole thing works, because we all think, right? You think at home, you're thinking, oh, I eat something, I taste it, right? I taste it with my tongue. And it could not be further from the truth, because we have actually two different systems that have very different reasons for being. Now, your tongue, which you think you taste with, you actually don't. Your tongue has only a couple jobs. One, to make sure you don't eat anything poisonous. That's why it can detect bitterness, because bitterness in the world, largely about 95% of everything bitter is poisonous. But then also it perceives salty, because you really need salt in your diet, even though we get too much of it. We also need acid. Acid is really important as well. And then also sweetness. These are things that your tongue does very well. And that's pretty much all it does. But you also have this thing called your olfactory gland. It's actually in your nasal cavity. So yes, if you had like a super long finger, you could reach all the way up in your nose and tickle it. Don't do that though. But up there, this little olfactory gland, this is actually how we taste and smell. And how it works is it actually identifies vapors, not liquids, not solids. Your tongue can identify things with liquids or solids if they're bitter, salty, or sweet. Your olfactory gland, you either have to smell something or chew it or swallow it so it becomes vapor. And it identifies vapor. And what happens, thousands of different cilia, little microscopic hairs, will collect those scent molecules, and identify what they are. And it works really well for smelling one thing at a time and then not being able to smell it again. For instance, if you are in a room where someone has a lot of perfume on, all of a sudden you just can't smell it anymore. That's why, because it recognizes, it imprints that data, and then it moves on to something else. So you can identify a lot, but this is the trick, is understanding how your sense of smell works and how your taste works. That's why, like, if you don't chew things, you can't taste it. Right? You ever eat something? No, I grew up in a very New England family, and nothing is cooked. Well, everything is cooked till it's gray and sad, and no one believes in salt, and nobody believes in any kind of spices. So sadness on a plate, always. And so you just would eat it very fast so that you wouldn't have to taste it. That is a great skill set to have if you were born and raised in New England. That's why I only, first thing I did was I got a job at a restaurant, and I discovered salt and garlic. I never had tasted garlic before in my life. It was a revelation. That actually brought me into the world of food and wine, actually, because of that. Once you understand this, you can actually start identifying things more and more to push yourself. This is your basic skill set, understanding how your sense of smell works, and then you can move on into doing things like deductive tasting.
So that's the next step when I'm teaching my level 3 sommelier program, is introducing a framework. And it's very simple. It basically follows the progression of how you are going to enjoy a wine. First, you're going to look at it. Then you're going to swirl and sniff it and think about the aromas. Then you're going to try it, describe what you feel on your palate, so the acid, body, tannin, And then also things like the finish, describe what flavors you're tasting that are the same or different from the aromas that you smelled. For beginners, start always by making an observation about how the wine looks in the glass, the color, the weightiness of the wine. Why? Because that's easy.
Yeah.
It's just the icebreaker. It's just to get you started. It's not necessarily going to be very impactful on the rest of your analysis, but just get the ball rolling. So take a look at the wine, describe the wine. Then when it comes to aromas, this is always what people are so impressed by, is how many aromas can you smell? Well, truthfully, a really authentic wine expert is only going to be able to smell a handful of things in one sitting. So what I impress upon people who are beginning to get into wine is think about fruit and earth. So all good wine, everybody wants to know, how do I know if this wine is good or not? Threshold question. Can you smell both fruit and earth? A good wine is always going to have fruit and earth. What is not a good wine? White Zinfandel is not a good wine. You have no earth aromas. What if you had a wine that was all earth aromas? That's going to be a bad wine. So just work on smelling something from the fruit category and something from the earthy category. And then if you want to really take it to the next level, think about, do you smell oak or not? So that's, do you smell baking spices, nutmeg, cinnamon, clove, allspice? And then just write an observation. And it just is a way for you to imprint in your memory what your experience of this wine was. And also for beginners, it's helpful to jot down when and where you're tasting that wine, because your environment has a huge impact on your impression of that wine. And so make note of that, so that if you have this wine again and you want to pull up that tasting note, put it in context. Recognize that, oh my gosh, maybe I was in a room full of other people and I was a little distracted. This wine seems to have a lot more nuance than I noticed the first time. So just start making a record and working on your authentic palate. Don't watch a video or read a description of a wine and then try to check off every single thing. That's not authentic. These things are very subjective. It's more important for you to speak like a human being who is having a real experience with a beautiful natural product that is absolutely mysterious and wonderful and beguiling. But just start slow and be authentic to yourself.
That's fantastic. And I think to get there, people should probably realize one thing. Now, that no one's good at this from the beginning. Like, nobody really is. It's all about training and training yourself, being honest, and not mimicking somebody else. So the first thing I do in my class when I'm training a group of sommeliers, the first thing I say is, none of you are good at this. And then I give them a blind tasting for a reason, because half the class actually thinks they're better than everybody else, whether they have wine collections or whether they've been in the wine trade for a long time, whatever it is. They think they're going to be better than everybody else. And then the other half of the class think they're worse than everybody else. And these are oftentimes academics and things, because we teach in Philadelphia, and there's a lot of academics, a lot of really smart people.
A lot of women.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
A lot
Yes.
of women
Yeah.
who think they're going to be worse than everybody else.
That's true. Oh, yeah. No.
And then you look at their final exam, and it's like, why didn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
So that's true. That's very true. So my job really is to cut the dudes out at the knees.
Kind of.
But
a little bit.
It was more, honestly, it was, for me, I know there's more the case like a little while, like years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's changing now, which is awesome. It is awesome. I love this. But so what I do is I actually give everyone a blind exam first day. And it's wonderful to see, because everyone fails. It's not just they get a C. No, they fail. At the end of that blind exam, everyone's actually excited for each other, because they knew they're all in the same place. And they all finally failed at the same thing together. And they failed at something they love. And they know they're going to actually need to work with each other to get better. And it's fantastic, because it's the only class I've ever been in where there are professors, there are PhD professors applauding the one person who got a D. And they got an F. But one person got like a barely scraped with a D. And the entire class just can't believe it. Someone actually barely passed. It's absolutely fundamentally and fantastically beautiful to see. And that's how we start. So just realize right now, everyone sucks at this at first, largely because you don't even know how your sense of smell works. You don't have a structure to do it, which is deductive tasting. And the best way to get really good at this, and what I, in my program, like in the level 2 sommelier, all I do is blind tasting. Almost every single thing is blind tasting. And I do this because you build an authentic knowledge. And because, varietals, they have very unique characteristics, like Pinot Noir. It is barnyard and roses aromas, right? Two extremes, right? You don't expect barnyard next to flowers, right? And that barnyard can be barnyard. But then it also has a specific structure. High acid, light bodied, and low tannin. So structure, beautiful. You can start identifying this blind. And it's not easy, but we do it within a semester. Like people get really good at this within a semester. And at home, you can do this too. So get a Pinot Noir, get a decent Pinot Noir, like maybe New Zealand or like that. Nothing too expensive, nothing with too much oak in it. So don't spend $100 on something that's massive, right? No, you want it to be light bodied, floral, pretty. And then next to that, get yourself a Syrah. And now Syrah's fingerprint is the complete opposite. Medium to full bodied, medium to high tannins, acidity is medium. And then the fingerprint though, that is just pure dead animal, like game. It can go anywhere from like off-brand Slim Jim to like a roast beef sandwich to anything in between. And if you're a vegetarian, it's going to be really offensive. I've seen vegetarians just go green when they smell Syrah. But when you smell these side by side, you can start identifying differences. And you can do a blind, just like pour them, boom, and try them, boom. But even better, before you pour the wine, put a little tab on both of them, identify what it is, pour those wines, and walk away from it. Just walk away, leave, maybe turn around a few times, leave them for an hour, come back, and then try them. That way you're not really sure which one is which anymore, because you've forgotten, you've done other things, and then really test yourself to see if you get them right. And you probably won't get it. It'll surprise you don't get it right the first time, because all you were really noticing was the fruit flavors, and then you like, oh, I really have to drill down. I have to focus on acid and body and tan and all the things that Alana was talking about with deductive tasting. And then I start smelling, oh, is that barnyard? Is that barnyard or is that game? And then you can start noticing and drilling down. I actually do blind tasting in so many different ways. Almost every single class is just a little bit different or big tweak. And I love it. And this is why I'm actually really good, and like you're really good at blind tasting and tasting us, because we're doing this all the time. It's training. And that's what I love. I get to train other people, and I just keep myself really, really sharp. And of course, my tasting notes are always really offensive.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
So I wanted to talk about some roadblocks, some things that I've seen in students that
yes.
cause people to stumble. The person who drinks very expensive wines and maybe has done very well in life and loves wine. It's their passion, their hobby, and they've spent a lot of money and done a lot of travel. And that type of person has a lot of ideas about what wine is, and that can be an impediment.
Oh, it can be.
Actually.
Yeah, because they're afraid of failure.
Yes.
Like they have so much to lose if they actually aren't good at this.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so they're bringing a lot of pressure, but also ideas about wine that are not representative of the whole scope of the wine world. If you're only drinking expensive wines, we've mentioned on this podcast, Keith has mentioned, those wines typically do not show a varietal fingerprint. And they have things typically like big oak and big alcohol, big fruit. And that's just not standard for a lot of the rest of the wine world. So that can be very limiting. Also, I hate to say it, I'm just going to be frank. I'm going to say it plain. If you grew up in California and you come to the East Coast and you take a wine class, you are going to have a little bit of a hard time, because your idea about wine, again, it's kind of like the person who makes wine their passion. You have a sense that you're better at this, that you know a lot more than other people, but you've kind of been raised in one wine culture, and it's not the entire world. So that can be an issue. And then also, finally, if you've just focused intently on one style of wine, if you're just obsessive about French wine or obsessive about Italian wine, those folks can also have a hard time opening up to new experiences. So in a reductive way, it's just all about being closed-minded. Those are the biggest barriers. So there's a meditation concept called beginner's mind. Seek beginner's mind. Be open to new experiences. Be open to failure. Be open to being challenged. And it'll be much more rewarding for you.
Yeah, you're 100% right about that, because you'll actually be able to experience things with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And because, nothing's better than the first time, like that first thing, that first time. And so, but for me, the thing that gets in everyone's way is judgmentalism, right? Because that's what we're really kind of talking about is being judgmental. And the way I get people away from this is and something that actually I learned early on in my wine career, I was really lucky. Someone turned to me and said to me, no one cares what you like. No one cares what you dislike. Your job is to make wine for everyone. And so that was like, oh, yeah, because I was doing the same thing. I was like, I like this. I don't like this. I like this. It doesn't matter if you like or dislike something. It's why you don't like something or you do like something. Those whys are the most important thing. So first thing I'd say to everyone is like, don't worry whether you like or dislike something. Just get rid of that, first of all, right? Just get rid of that so that you're much more of an open vessel. Because judgments at this stage are just going to block you off from a lot of different experiences. Once you say you don't like something, you're not going to focus on it. You're actually going to dismiss it from there on out. You've cut a path away from yourself. And when you're talking about just flavors, that's really dumb. Like, I don't like roses is a really dumb thing to say. Like, what's a smart thing to say is like, something about roses disturbs me. Like, what is it? I've had students like this. I've had students that actually couldn't smell roses because they didn't like the smell of roses. But then when they talked to me for a little bit, it was because their mom was a florist and she died. And the smell of roses reminded her of her mom. Wow. And so it had all this pain inside of it. Oh. And so, but this is all things like, why don't you like the smell of barnyard, right? Most people say, I don't like the smell of barns. Like, but if you grow up in a barn, you'd love it. Like, there's certain things that you can like or dislike. Neither is important. It's why. So once you start doing that, at interrogating the whys, you start all of a sudden exploring really cool stuff about yourself. The good, the bad, the ugly. And all of a sudden, you start really enjoying the things you really disliked. And this happens all the time. As a rule of thumb in wine, and so this especially for collectors, like those people who have been buying wines for so long, the problem is that when they start buying wines, they start collecting the wines they like then, and then by the time they're opening the wines, they don't like that style anymore, and they like a different style because you change. People with huge cellars, they're like, I used to love Cabernet, but now I really love Pinot Noir, and now I really love Rieslings, and I don't have any. So now I'm collecting those. I'm like, well, why are you collecting those? You're not going to like them when you're ready. Like, this is not cyclical. Like, it changes as you think about yourself with food. When I was a kid, when I was in grade school, I loved Twinkies, and I would get money for milk, and I would save my money. I wouldn't buy the milk, and then I would actually every couple of days get a Twinkie because I love those, and I just drink water. But I hate Twinkies now. I mean, I want to want. I could buy more Twinkies than I could ever eat in my lifetime. I could fill a studio up right now. I could just call and get it filled up with Twinkies. Why would I want to? Because I would never eat them. I don't like them. Right now, I mean, I love foie. But you know what? I don't like foie now as much as I did like 10 years ago. So this is all going to evolve. Like, I'm right now, like my love right now for like Toro tuna is like supreme. I just had some amazing tuna and just caught like that day, and it was amazing. It's my favorite thing right now. That's going to change. Always open to different things. And even when people ask me what my favorite wine is, I look at them like, why would I have one? Like, no, never have a favorite thing. Like, it makes no sense to me because I've trained myself to be open to these things and so many things. And I'm always looking forward to the thing that I didn't like before and that I do now. And that always happens. And I'm really grateful for my professor, at Davis to say, why did you, it doesn't matter what you dislike. It matters why. So that's it.
That was amazing.
Hey, well, like once in a while I can pull it out. Yeah, no, I have a lot of wisdom.
And I
Lots
really
and
do.
lots and lots of wisdom. A lot of fart jokes. I'm 90% fart jokes, and I'm 10%. I'm 7% wisdom. 3% just pure curmudgeon. That 3% comes in heavy and large. But yeah. All right. No, there's a couple other things. You don't want other people's opinions. You want to build your own ideas and your own language and your own etymology. But what you don't want is other people's opinions clouding that. When we teach, I really try not to show you what I like or dislike, ever. I want to show you things and allow you to learn and grow. Now, a lot of wine books are all just opinions. They're freaking opinions. Ignore them. You should not care about anyone else's opinion. You don't need to ape their opinions. They're just opinions. And same with like a lot of apps, wine apps too. They're all aggregates of other people's opinions. No, you can stay away from that. You don't need a Yelp for your palate. What you need is a little bit of self-knowledge. You need some self-discovery. You don't need anybody else to tell you what you should or should not like.
We live in a very consumer-driven culture. When you get into wine, there are all kinds of things coming at you, pressures to buy a lot of different things, to read and subscribe to a lot of different things. You do not need to buy things. You do not need to subscribe to things. It's extremely DIY. It's very democratic. There's low barriers to entry. So if you want to take that plunge, one of the things that I would recommend doing to build your palate, start visiting good wine regions. Start visiting things that you're curious about. Maybe you don't have any experience, especially what they now call emerging wine regions. Places like Croatia, places like Tasmania, places that are small enough that you can get up close, personal with the winemakers, especially was first learning about wine. Visiting those wine regions that allowed real face-to-face exchange between passionate wine lovers and the creators of wine. That was the best thing, was spending some time traveling to less well-known regions where you can get a really authentic experience.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can go to Italy and Spain to get that. You just have to go to the places that no one else goes to.
Exactly.
If you're going to Italy, go to Sicily. Go to Vittoria in Sicily. You're going to be the only one there. No one else will be there. In Spain, go to harder to get places like even Priorat. Like every time I'm ever in Priorat, there's no one else there. You weren't on that strip, but one of the first trips I took, I got drunk with a winemaker and drove his tractor. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was really scary. When I the next morning, I'm like, oh, that was a bad idea
That was
for
such
everyone.
a bad idea. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but needless to say, I am 1% bad ideas. Well, more.
Well, that was great, Keith. Do you have any more salient bits of advice?
No, I oftentimes say, don't get those sensory kits. But then again, at the same time, I use them. I actually, in our L2 online programming for the National Wine School, I do use, but they're actually very specific and built for the class. So the large generic ones are awful, and I don't recommend them. But if you have one that's specific to the wines you're trying, they can be helpful. But other than that, no, I think that's it. I don't have any more wisdom to sprinkle on everyone's palate today.
Yeah. Great.
But yeah, it was great having you all here. Please like and subscribe. If you liked what we're doing here, definitely like and subscribe. But also, if you like these ideas, sign up for Sommelier program. The National Wine School is the only wine school that's designed for the American palate, for the American wine industry. That's at wineschool.us. So yeah, you can do that.
And you can also visit us for a class at the Wine School of Philadelphia. Keith and I both teach full-time, so come in and see us. And if you would like to watch a video of this podcast, you can check out our YouTube channel, Wine School USA. And next time, we are going to come back with an episode on corks.
Well, that's fantastic. And I got to point out to everyone that if you do come to one of my classes in Philly, I will swear. And a lot. I dropped so many F-bombs. Yeah. And actually, Alana just mentioned a couple days ago that, you don't swear on our podcast that much. I do not know why.
Do you want to make up for that right now?
No. It's funny. It doesn't work on video or audio as much as it does in person.
Okay, but you got to be there.
You got to be there. You got to feel the fucks, people. Nice. All right, guys. Have a great night.
Cheers.